Hey, what's going on today, guys? My name is Trey and welcome back to Hawaii. And today we're going to be going over our top places for singles and couples to live here on Oahu. The first place we're going to mention on our list is the North Shore and Haleiwa. You'll find some amazing picturesque locations up there, ranging from the Waimea Valley to Turtle Bay, to Bonsai Pipeline, to Kaena Point, to Sharks Cove. There's just so much to do there. And how on earth could I forget to mention the Haleiwa Strip? Keep in mind, the North Shore is a very exclusive place here on Oahu, so you are going to spend a little bit more. Rent-wise, you're going to be spending in excess of $2,000. If you're looking for a one-bedroom or more, just know that you're going to be spending a lot of money. And if you are looking to buy a property on the North Shore, you can pretty much kiss anything sub $1 million goodbye, because it is very expensive to buy property there. Now, I know we're talking about the North Shore in general, but we are specifically talking more so about the Haleiwa area. Now, if you are looking to find a more reasonable spot to live, I would highly recommend checking out Waialua as well as Kahuku. Some of the cons that come with living on the North Shore and Haleiwa in particular: it is extremely far from town. It is a very exclusive and isolated area. There's not too many grocery stores. There are a few gas stations, but Haleiwa is primarily known for its restaurant scene. So don't plan on going there and like finding a Walmart or a Costco or anything like that. You will have to drive into town to take advantage of those offerings. The next place we want to discuss is Kailua. Found on the windward side of Oahu, Kailua is a lush tropical escape from town. It's very quiet, it's kind of low-key. Tourists do manage to find their way there because of its beautiful, picturesque beaches. The weather isn't too bad either. There's a lot of great restaurants, and there's just so much to do there. If you're looking for a more traditional Hawaiian experience, you will definitely find it here in Kailua. Kailua is probably going to be the closest thing to a suburb here on this list, and that's primarily because it is outside of town, not as far as Haleiwa or the North Shore, but only about a 30-minute commute. So it's not too bad if you work here in town, or if you need to come to Waikiki Beach, or if you need to go to Hawaii Kai. It's really not too far of a drive. What really makes Kailua stand out is definitely its access and location and proximity from the beaches. There's some of the best beaches here in the state of Hawaii that can be found in Kailua, and in particular, that is where the famous Lanikai Beach is located. And if you're into hiking or if you're into outdoors, there's some really great botanical gardens and hikes there. Another great thing about living in Kailua is there's a ton of grocery stores, there's a lot of gas stations, there's a lot of hardware stores. There's just a lot going on there. You'll find Safeway, Times, Whole Foods. You'll just find pretty much everything that you're looking for. It's a really desirable location. It's obviously great for couples and singles because there's so much to do. Some of the best restaurants on the island can be found there. I would say a downside, speaking of restaurants and bars there, is they do close a little bit earlier, but that's because, you know, the windward side is a little bit quieter, as I mentioned earlier on. Rent-wise, you're going to be spending obviously over the $2,000 range. If you're looking into getting into like a one-bedroom or a two-bedroom, you will find a place, but it is going to be a little bit on the pricier side. If you're looking to buy, most of the houses on the windward side, especially in Kailua, are going to be in that $1 million range. Now, you can definitely get a little bit lucky. The more inland you come from the beach, you'll be able to find some sub-$1 million properties, but just know that it might not exactly be like a newer development. And that's another thing I wanted to hit on, is I think it's great that Kailua is such an authentic experience, but just know that if you're looking to get anything that's newer, you might have to sacrifice that because there's not too much space there. There's so many houses there already. There's so many apartments, and most of those places aren't going to be torn down to build new properties. So just keep that in mind before you decide to move there. Some of the downsides to living in Kailua, I guess, would be its proximity to town. I know I mentioned it is only a 30-minute drive, but for some, it could be somewhat of a trek if you need to get there in the morning. Kailua is located in a pretty interesting part of the windward side. It is closer to a military base, so keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of traffic coming in and out of there. Not to the point where I would say you should second guess living there, but just keep in mind that you will have to make a trek and a commute if you plan on leaving the windward side. Now, even though you will get your traditional Hawaiian experience living in Kailua, it does sometimes tend to be a pretty transient location because of military and just individuals coming from the mainland to buy there, and then they sell immediately for a number of reasons. It does tend to be a pretty expensive part of Oahu, and really because of its proximity to the beach as well as its scenic viewpoints of the backside of the Ko'olau Mountains. The next place on our list that we want to discuss is McCully. In my opinion, I would consider McCully to be a prime location. It's super close to H1. You don't have to worry about too much traffic because you're in such close proximity to H1. It's also considered to be a restaurant haven. If you're a foodie like me, you'll be able to virtually walk outside of your apartment or your house. You can look to your left or your right and just know that you'll find some of the greatest restaurants here in Hawaii. They have outstanding reputations. Most of them have been in business for more than 20 years, and they're really not going anywhere. They continue to just put out some great menus. It's what McCully is known for. And in fact, as soon as you get off of H1 and you drive through McCully, you will see a restaurant everywhere you look. If you were to stand in the middle of a street and literally look in every single corner in every single direction, you'll see a restaurant. McCully is also in close proximity to Ala Moana, as well as Ala Moana Beach Park. So if you need to get some exercise in, or if you need to go shopping, or if you need to, look for some furniture or stuff like that, just know that it literally only takes like 2 minutes to drive into Ala Moana. McCully is going to be the most affordable community on our list, and for a few reasons. McCully is considered to be an older part of town as well as Oahu. It was one of the first communities that was established here on Oahu. So a lot of the properties that you'll find, they are outdated. They're not going to be remodeling pretty much anytime soon, but I think that adds a lot of character to the apartment or to the house that you'll decide to invest in. So just keep that in mind as well. Some of the cons that come with living in McCully are the fact that there's very limited parking. Most of it is street parking. There's virtually no parking garages at all whatsoever. So good luck finding parking. One of our favorite sushi spots on Oahu is called Tane, which is located in McCully. And every time we go to Tane, it's somewhat of an experience to try to find some parking. So that's kind of what we're basing our experience off of. And in fact, another bar that we go to as well is in the McCully area. And parking is just not the most readily available. McCully does tend to have some crime as well. There are a lot of thefts, break-ins, nothing too crazy. Like, you're not gonna get murdered if you live in McCully, but just know that like if you own a car, if you own a bike, make sure that you have like a very sophisticated alarm system or a very sophisticated locking system if you drive a scooter or anything like that. Because I don't know what it is, but when you live in town, like there's a lot of break-ins. Obviously, there's a lot of, scooter thefts. So just be smart wherever in McCully you decide to live. Just keep that in mind. The next place on our list that we want to discuss is Kaka'ako. The great thing about Kaka'ako is its location. It's in close proximity to Ala Moana. It's not too far of a drive to get to H1. If you go to the University of Hawaii, it's not too far of a drive. There's just always something going on in Kaka'ako as well. Because of its prime location, a lot of developers and retailers worldwide have just come and flocked to Kaka'ako, and they've decided to build all types of establishments and rental properties, and there's just so much going on there. In fact, if you were to drive over there right now, you'll find about like 30 construction cranes just building up new developments there. It's very young, it's very hip, there's always something going on. You'll always find a market happening there. In fact, that's where the world famous Honolulu Night Market takes place. Some of the best breweries here in the state of Hawaii and here on Oahu are found in Kaka'ako. There's actually like one little area where there is just some of the best brews and food. It's like a kaleidoscope of some of the best food and drink that you'll find here on Oahu. You'll find some great breweries, you'll find all types of restaurants, and the really great thing is since they are trying to cater to, I would say, like millennials, Gen Z, they are trying to keep things open a little bit later. So if you get off of work late, or if you're an individual that, likes to be a night owl, you'll be able to go out to a ton of different bars and restaurants because they're trying to cater to that age group. Kaka'ako also manages to find a way to cater to the creatives out there as well. So if you're a photographer, if you're an artist, if you're a singer, if you are a foodie, that's actually where the arts district is. So it's a very, very cool, hip, and unique place. Price-wise, Kaka'ako is probably going to be the most expensive place that we mention here on our list, and for a few reasons. Pretty much every property and every development there is newer. There's just so much going on there. It's a prime location. There's always something going on. So if you're one of those individuals that works in town, or if you're a banker or a financier, or you work at a hedge fund or anything like that, like you'll find that that is where that demographic of individuals finds a way to meet and convene. If you're also somebody that's a creative, or if you just like to be around cool, young, unique, and hip individuals, then Kaka'ako is definitely the place for you. It is LGBTQI friendly as well, which is something that we appreciate. It's just a really welcoming part of Oahu. Since a lot of the properties are newer developments, you are going to definitely pay for the renovations that have been done. Things are just new in Kaka'ako. It is a very exciting and unique place to be, but you will definitely pay for it. And I mean, that goes for any place on the planet. Newer development and newer properties and newer parts of town, you're going to pay for it. But Kaka'ako specifically, because they're trying to cater to a specific demographic, it's very expensive. The next place that we want to discuss is Waikiki. There's always something happening in Waikiki, whether that being tourists coming from all over the world to be here. There's always restaurants that just have all types of happy hours. You know, there's always hotels offering kama'aina discounts. There's just always something happening in Waikiki. You're close to Waikiki Beach. You're close to Kapiolani Park. You're close to Diamond Head. You're close to Diamond Head Beach Park. You're in a really prime location. You're not too far from Ala Moana. It's a really, really prime spot to be. Yes, Waikiki is a super touristy part of Oahu. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a bad thing. Everything is open late and sometimes 24 hours. So if you need to go to a grocery store, or if you need to go to a gas station, like nothing ever closes in Waikiki. It's like Times Square in New York or Hollywood Boulevard in LA. Like there's always something going on. Everything is open. But I guess there is a downside that comes with that. If you're looking for that quintessential Hawaiian experience, you may not necessarily find that in Waikiki. As I said before, it is pretty similar to like Times Square in New York or South Beach in Miami. Like it's just a tourist haven. So if you're trying to like relax, or if you're trying to get a little bit of R&R underway, you may not necessarily find that in Waikiki. I know Waikiki Beach has such a famous reputation for being exciting. It is a bustling part of Oahu. There's no parking at all whatsoever really in Waikiki, and if you drive a bigger truck or a bigger SUV, good luck finding parking, because it's all pretty much parking garages, and they are extremely low because they were built long ago. Now, when it comes to the proper method of transportation that I would recommend personally, if you live in Waikiki, I wouldn't buy a car. Like if this is your first time and like you're just trying to get to Hawaii, I'd probably recommend getting a scooter. Waikiki is a very scooter friendly part of town. Town in general is scooter friendly, but like parking wise, expense wise, I would just recommend getting a scooter, because if you need to go to Safeway, if you need to go to the ABC store, like if you need to go virtually anywhere, if you need to go to the post office, there's just so much parking that is available for scooters. Traffic wise, Waikiki is horrendous, probably one of the worst parts of Oahu to drive in. There's a lot of one ways, there's just a ton of tourists. There are a lot of red lights as well. We would just say to be mindful of signs and, signage and road markings, because you may literally think that you're doing the right thing or that you're driving down the right way, and then you'll look up and like a car will be coming directly at you, and that's because you're driving the wrong way. So keep that in mind. Traffic and driving in Waikiki sucks. The final place that we want to talk about on our list is Kaimuki. We're a little bit biased because this is actually where we live, but we just love Kaimuki so much. It's such a great place to live. What makes Kaimuki such an outstanding part of Oahu to live is it's just the most well-rounded community to live in. There are a ton of grocery stores, things are open late, housing prices are reasonable, you're close to H1, you're close to UH, you're close enough to get to Hawaii Kai, You're only like a 10-minute drive from the Pali to get to the windward side. If you happen to work in town, I would say it's really only like a 1-minute drive to get there. It's such an awesome place to live. We're close to the beach, we're close to Diamond Head, we're just close to everything here. Waialae Avenue is an awesome strip here in Kaimuki where you'll find some great restaurants, some great bars. They're open late, they're super diverse. There's like a really cool art scene here in Kaimuki as well. There's like coffee shops and libraries. There's some awesome thrift stores. There's just always something happening here in Kaimuki. What we love about it too is even though it's technically town, you get like a vibe and a feeling like you're not really in town. It's quiet, it's very peaceful, it's very relaxing. I do actually work in town, and when I drive to come home, I just get like this really warm feeling inside because I feel like I'm escaping the hustle and bustle of town. However, if Justine and I are looking to, experience nightlife, or if we're looking to have like a great meal, we just know that we'll be able to literally take the 2-minute drive that it takes to get to Waialae Avenue, and we know that we'll have an awesome time. Kaimuki is a great place to walk. In fact, most of our neighbors and most of the people that we see here, we rarely see them in their cars because it's just, if we had to give it like a walking score, we would give it an A+. Like if you need to work out, I do a lot of my running around Diamond Head, so it's just a really great place to walk, and you don't need a car really to live here. You don't even need a scooter to live in Kaimuki because everything is just in such great proximity. And if you needed to get to the beach, you've got Diamond Head Beach Park, you've got Waikiki that's not too far away. Justine and I, that's where we watch our sunsets. I know we do tend to drive there, but like I said, you don't need to drive there. You don't even need to take a bike. It's just such an awesome place to be. Now, even though we love living here in Kaimuki, there are some cons that do come with living here. A lot of the properties are a little bit older. Most of the places don't have AC. They tend to have a lot of bugs. Another con I would say about living in Kaimuki is there are just a ton of hills. And I'm talking like some of the biggest, steepest hills on Oahu. So even though it does receive a great walking score, if you're an individual such as myself that likes to run or likes to be outside and getting their exercise, it is pretty challenging and daunting to be able to attack these hills successfully. So that wraps up our list. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oahu is such an outstanding place to live. We love it so much. It's one of the greatest places that we've ever lived in our lives. We don't have too many bad things to say about life here. It's just such a welcoming and inviting place. And we bought into aloha. That is one thing that you have to understand when you decide to move here. Forget everything that you know and have learned on the mainland and do your best to just soak it all in. Life has changed so much for Justine and myself. We've gotten healthier. We are killing it work-wise. We just love life here. It's been such a life-changing experience. I decided to let Justine know that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her being here. So this will forever be a special location for both of us. We love it here so much. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Once again, my name is Trey. You might see another beautiful woman by the name of Justine on this channel. She is my fiance. We love to work together. Our next video that we do, we will make it together. So if you guys have any questions or if you just love us, feel free to subscribe. Thank you guys so much, and aloha.